Hi guys, back again with SketchUp part 3, and so we are going to start a new drawing, and we'll go up here to our drop down arrow, and what we're going to be doing is we'll select architectural feet and inches, and that'll open up a new window. We're going to draw a room today, but instead of focusing on the outside like we have on our first ones, or the first video that we did a couple days ago, where we drew the outside of a house, this time we're going to work on more of the interior. And we're going to learn some new tools as we go. So to start this, in the last video you learned how to be accurate with your dimensions. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to hit R for rectangle, or you can click over there, and then we'll drag it out. And we want this room to be 16 by 9. So I'm going to hit 16 apostrophe, which is 16 feet, comma 9 feet. And I'm going to hit enter. Now, I don't really want the room this way. I kind of want it long the other way. So I'm going to go up here to undo, and the shortcut for this is Control-Z. So I'm going to undo that. And so I want to draw that room again. And this first time I tried it, I went 16 feet, comma 9 feet. So I'm just going to reverse those. Whoops. And now I've got 9 by 16. That's how we want it to be. So you should have your rectangle like that. And then we're going to hit P for push-pull, or you can go over there and click it. And we're going to take this room up 9 foot. So there's a 9-foot ceiling. And now I mentioned that we want to draw the interior of the room. And that's pretty tough right now. It's all sealed, right? There is no opening. So what we're going to do is grab our eraser tool, which is the E on the keyboard. And I want to delete just this line. There we go. And that kind of opens up my room. All right. And now going from here, we're going to introduce a new tool, okay? And it's called the tape measure tool. What the tape measure tool does is it creates guidelines that can be really easily deleted later on, but give us a nice accurate way to make those guidelines so that we can draw with them. So if you hit T on your keyboard, it's going to take you to this tool right here. So I just hit T, and it highlights on this tape measure. And there's a lot of things a tape measure can do. The main purpose is it makes a parallel guideline. So if I want a vertical guideline going up and down like this, I can click on any vertical line that I want, because you're basically making a parallel line. So if I were to click right here, you can see that I'm dragging a parallel line out on the green axis, down the red axis, and I can't make it go up the blue because that's the direction it's parallel with. So since it's parallel with blue, I can only make it go green or red, okay? You can do that from any point on a line. So now I've got a parallel line with green, I can make it go blue or red, right? And vice versa, with the red line, I can make it go green or blue. Okay, the other thing a tape measure can do if you're not careful is if you click on a corner, for example, instead of making a parallel line, now it wants to make just one singular line. And so it will come out wherever you take it. So let's say that I want it to go out 100 inches. Instead of making a parallel line, it just draws a regular line and ends at a point. It's also a guideline, it just doesn't make it parallel. So if you want this, that's fine. But in order to get it to work like this, you have to start at a single point. I'm going to undo that for now. Okay, I'm going to get the tape measure tool still. So a guideline goes with the line like that, or like that if you want it just to be a point guideline, okay? And again, escape gets me out of that. So before I go any further, we've just barely started our house. Let's go ahead and save your drawing. So we're going to click on Untitled. Then you'll click on My Drive when it comes up. And now click on your SketchUp folder. There it is. And now we're going to name this SketchUp, help if I typed, number 3, and you'll type your last name. So I've got SketchUp Grady. And now that I've told it where to save and what it's called, I've basically turned on auto saving, which could save you a lot with this drawing. Alright, so now we're going to use our tape measure. I've still got the tape measure tool, and we're going to make some guidelines here on this back wall. So I'm going to click on one of these vertical lines. I'm going to click on this one first, And now I'm going to drag it out so that it highlights red like you see here. And I'm going to hit 40. I don't need to label this because I want it to be 40 inches. 40 and enter. So I clicked once to start it, and then I hit 40 and enter to end it. We're going to do the same thing over here. I just paused my recording. You guys are going to be very frustrated with me. I messed up. We actually want this room the other way. So back in the beginning when I made you switch those numbers around, I screwed up. So I apologize, and we'll do this really quickly, okay? So let's take our select tool, okay, which is this arrow, but it gives me a good chance to teach you guys something else while we're doing this. So we're going to delete this. When you drag a window, you got the select tool here, and I drag a window from left going to the right. It's only going to select what was inside of that box that I created, right? So if I just want this line, I can do it like that. So left to right, you only select what's inside the box. So if I were to drag it out a little further, I get a few more lines and things like that. If you want to delete everything, you simply drag a box from the right to the left, and you can see that the outline of my box changed. It's a dotted line now, and it's telling me anything that this touches gets selected. So if you really want to make sure that you get everything, going from right to left is a better way to select rather than going from right to left, right? So we're going to go right to left, so this dotted box, and we're going to select everything we drew, and we're going to hit delete. All right, now we're going to do this fast. See if you guys can keep up here. We're going to hit R, click it, and we'll go 16 apostrophe 9 apostrophe enter. Good. We're going to push pull that up 9 feet. Good. You guys are not going to believe this. I was using the wrong dimensions completely. So let's back this up again. We'll try this a third time, and hopefully Mr. Grady can get his stuff together and do this right. R for rectangle, and we want 16 by 20, not 16 by 9. I am a fool, and I apologize. So 16 apostrophe comma 20 apostrophe enter, and that looks way better. I don't know what I was doing. Now we're going to hit P, push, pull, and here's where the 9 came in. I was trying to put it somewhere else. Now the ceiling is 9 feet. That part was correct. I'm so sorry. E for eraser, and now we're good to go on our room. That looks way better. It's a much bigger room. I am not on my game today. I apologize, guys. All right, so we got our 20 by 9 room. Let's save it so that we get rid of all that other junk that I messed up on. Okay, now let's make some guidelines. T for tape measure. Somewhere on this wall, this line, excuse me, this vertical line. Click and drag it out so that it's red. Now we're going to go 40. Don't need to label it because we're doing 40 inches. Then go to the other side, red still, 40 inches. And then we want to go up 24 inches. So I clicked on the horizontal bottom line this time, type 24 and hit enter. Go up here to the top and hit enter. So that was 18 inches down. Up 24, down 18, in 40, in 40. All right. And now what we're going to do is make some rectangles based on this, okay? So we're going to hit R. And we're going to do this one, and this one, and this one. And so I'm just clicking where those points intersect. Don't have to type in any numbers because I've already used the numbers when I created the guidelines. All right. And so here we are on this. And now let's go ahead and get rid of these guidelines. So if I hit E for eraser, I see this one, I see this one. If you're zoomed in too close, you may not remember that we also had these vertical ones that are now covered by solid lines. So if I zoom out, then I can get that and get that. One other way to do that So let's bring all my guidelines back. So now I've got all my guidelines back. Is you can come over here to these little glasses, and we can hit right here, and there's a lot of ways we can do this. We can uncheck to see the guidelines so that they stay there and we just hide them, or we can delete them all by hitting that button. So that's a nice option to know with guidelines. That's what makes them so handy, is they're easy to clean up and get rid of without changing your drawing much. All right. I'm going to refer to my plan real quick and then I'll get right back. Okay, we're back to add some features to our room here. So let's zoom in a little bit and get a good look at this wall. So I'm using my scroll wheel to do all of that. And now we want to hit push-pull. All right. And we're going to bring this middle rectangle out, and let's bring it out 24 inches. So I clicked once to start it, and I just dragged it to tell it which direction. And then I want to hit 24 and enter. And it pulls it out 24 inches, which is great. Now we're going to pull these little spots out 18 inches. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to bring that out 18, enter. Okay, and we want this one to match that. So we can click here, and you can just type 18 and enter again. But another cool feature about the push-pull is that you can use inferencing. So for example, as I hover over other things, like on this face, it automatically knows that I want to push-pull this original rectangle to this dimension. Or if I hover over here, it's going to match this one, or match this wall. Whatever I tell it to do is where it's going to go. And we obviously want it to match this. So I can just click that, come over here. I don't need to even measure. I know that I want them nice and even. Okay, let's do a little bit more with our features here down on this end. So let's go back and grab our push-pull tool again. We'll try it another way, and we'll come out 12 this time on this top one. All right, so there's 12. And this is my most recent command, right? I did that 12. So I could do the inferencing, right? I could click on this and then click over here. But if whatever your most recent push-pull was, SketchUp will also remember it. So if I'm going to double-click here really quick, it automatically remembers, oh, hey, we did that to 12 last time, and pulls it out to the same thing you did last time. So that's another way to do push-pull features, okay? Before we move on, it's a good modeling practice, good habit to get into to clean up your drawings always, right? So we have this surface, and this should all be one surface, right? But we have these little lines dividing it. So if we zoom in there, click E for erase, we can heal this surface to make this all one again, like that. That's what we want. We call that healing the surface. So we're going to delete those lines, and then we want to try and get over here and delete these, but it's super easy. What I did right there, I accidentally orbited and got the wall in my way, right? Kind of easy to do. What I want you guys to kind of play around with right now is if you go over here and click on this bottom, this gives you all the zooming tools, right? And if you click on this magnifying glass, in the bottom right down here, I haven't clicked anything, I'm just hovering, it says the field of view is 35 degrees. So I still haven't clicked anything. Let's change that to 50. So I just start typing and hit enter, and it changes my field of view to 50. All right, let's do that again and hit 90. And you can see it changes things kind of even more. Starts to get a little bit goofy looking, so let's just keep it at 50. 50 and enter, okay? And it's still a little bit tricky to see this. Let's hit E for eraser, then let's zoom in a little bit there. Get that one. Spin a little bit more. You just got to be careful how you orbit in and out, right? But anyway, I healed that surface now. And so now we've got the end of this room done. Now we're going to work on putting some windows in this room. And so you want to kind of orbit and give yourself a nice view of this far wall right here. And then we're going to do some windows here in just a moment. All right, let's get started with our windows now, okay? So we're going to hit T for the tape measure, right? And we want to go all the way into this corner right here. I'm going to click on that line. I want to make a parallel line to that. So I want it to be green coming out. And we're going to make our first one at 5 feet. So 5, an apostrophe, and then enter. And then from here, we want it to be the other side of the window, 30 inches apart. 30, don't need to label it, enter. Okay, then the bottom of the window, we're going to have it come up to the same as the little box that we pulled out on the end of the room. So all I did there, I didn't have to type any numbers. I clicked there and then I inferred it to that point. And we'll do the same up here in the top. We'll click on the top line, bring a surface down so that it's blue, and we'll infer it to that corner. And so that's going to be the size of my window. So now let's grab the rectangle tool, and we want to go point to point, so my intersection point that I created with my guidelines, and that's going to be the shape of my window. And we're going to make a couple of these, and so what we're going to want to do is have the next window 18 inches down. So I'm going to hit T for tape measure, go back to tape measure, and this time I'm going to drag it another guideline, 18 inches, enter, and that was with the green axis, telling me that I want it right here. And this is the first time now that I'm about to teach you how to make a copy of something. So this is very, very, very handy as you move forward with your modeling skills. First thing we're going to do is hit spacebar for center, and this is the window that I want right here. So I grabbed that surface, I clicked it once, right, and now we're going to need this move tool. So we hit M for move, and you can see that if I want this rectangle down here, I need a point along this line, the right side of the window. So I could either use this point or this point. I don't want to just grab it anywhere. Grab it on a point, right? And I'm going to click once, and you can see I'm moving that window now. But we don't want to move it really. We want to make a copy of it. So if you look down here at the bottom of your SketchUp, there's all these little hints in the text down here. And it says that if I want to change it from move, right, if I just tap Control, it turns it into copy. So I'm going to hit Control once on my keyboard and watch what happens on the screen. So instead of moving it, now it's allowing me to make a copy that I can now place wherever I'd like. And we want to go from that corner to that corner. So be very exact when you're making your copies or moving something. Corner to corner is the best way to go. So I select that, and now I've got my corner right there. So go ahead and practice that a third time. We'll make one more window. So we're going to hit T for tape measure. Bring it down the green, 18, and enter. And mine's still highlighted. That's okay. But if it wasn't, all I would need to do is select that surface again, hit M for copy, select the corner, tap Control one time, that turns it into this copy mode. You can see the little plus pops up on my icon there. Bring it down to this corner and click again. Hit spacebar, I'm going to click off of that, and now I've got my 3 windows kind of set up to proceed with our drawing. Okay, so now we're going to add some details to our windows. So I'm going to zoom in so I get kind of a nice good view of this farthest left window right here. And what we're going to do here is now, I guess we can go ahead and get rid of these guidelines too while we're at it. I don't think I need them, but I may need them again on these windows. So what I'm going to do instead of deleting them is I'm just going to uncheck this box right here. And so that hides my guidelines temporarily. First thing we want to do is we're going to offset this. So that's the F key, or this tool right over here. And we're going to click it once, and let's bring it in 3 inches. Enter. And then let's do it one more time, and let's go 1 inch this time. So we have an offset in of 3, and then in of 1. And now we want to make kind of a window pane here. And so we're going to go up here. I hit L for the line tool. Midpoint to midpoint on just this interior one. And midpoint to midpoint. So now I've got this nice square window here. And what we want to do now is offset each one of these panes. And so I'm going back to the offset tool. Could have just hit F, right? And I want to do this pane right here. So I'm going to select that, and I'm going to bring it in. And I want to do a 1/2 inch this time, so 0.5 and enter. And just like I showed you guys on this one up here, where with the push-pull tool I could just double-click it and it remembered my previous push-pull, the same thing happens with the offset. It actually has a memory and it remembers my last offset. So now I'm going to double-click this pane, and it automatically offsets a 1/2 inch. Double-click and double-click. And did all of these panes just the way that I would like them to. Okay. Now what we want to do is we're going to push-pull these windows just to give it some depth. So now I'm hitting the P for push-pull, And I'm going to grab this surface. And I don't know if you noticed that as soon as I hit P, it had me locked into this surface already. If you're ever locked into a surface and you don't want to be, you just hit escape on the keyboard and it lets you reselect what you want to push pull. I'm going to do this pane, and I'm going to take it back, how about 6 inches? Enter. And then I'm going to double click this for that 6 again. Alright. And I did all 4 panes back 6 inches. And now I'd like to actually push this whole pane back again, but it's in these little divisions here. So we're going to heal this surface again. So hit E for eraser. And we want to get rid of all these. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure I get all of those lines that divide that pane. Alright. And now I'm going to hit P for push-pull. And you don't have to use a measurement this time. Okay, I want to make this kind of an interesting window. So I push the pane back. Now I'm going to grab this and push that back a little bit. And then I want to bring this outside rim that we made out, like it's some trim. And now you can kind of eyeball that again. And now we've created this, I think, interesting window that really looks like a window. It's got depth and all that good stuff. And what we want to do is we want to create a very similar window. We want to make it the exact same down here. And we're going to use a lot of our lines from here to do that. So let's hit F for offset. And you don't want to offset from these vertical sides because you can't use inferencing. We want to make sure that we offset from the top or the bottom. I'm going to do the bottom. So I'm doing this right here at the bottom so that I can bring it up. And here's the reason why. Now I can go over here and inference that point. So that was my first offset. I'm going to do the same thing down here. And I'm going to go up there. And now I've got those. And now we hit L for line. And we make our window panes again. Alright, I got all my panes there. And I'm locked into selecting just this. So I'm going to hit the space bar and just click off of that. And then I get kind of a fresh start there. And then the next thing we did was we offset each one of these little panes too. So I'm going to hit F for offset. And again, I want to be from the bottom so that I can inference over to this right here. Gets me to my 1/2 inch. Did that one. And now I can start my double clicking. Oops. So this one got off a little bit. I need to reset it. So I'm going to go back down to the bottom. And I'm going to inference to that point right there. Then I can go back to my double click. So there we got that window going. And now for my push pulling, I'm going to do what I did before. I'm going to push pull. Let's start with this surface. So I was locked in there. I hit escape. I'm going to click on this one. And I want it to be the same as this. So I inference over to this surface. I'm going to click there. I've set my depth now, so I can double click, and double click. And then we had to go in here and erase those. And then we're going to push pull that to the same as what we had over here. And then I want to push pull this to match this one over here. And lastly, the outside kind of trim to match this one over here. And now I've got two that are absolutely identical that I basically did all by inferencing the first window to make them match. So for this last window, I'm going to do this silently. I'm not going to talk through it, and I encourage you guys to do the same thing just to practice. Do all the same things we did before. You could kind of try it on your own this time, and we don't need to talk about it. All right? So now we have our room structurally created, and we've got our windows drawn in, and they all match each other. Everything's looking very good. Now, maybe, hopefully anyway, some of you will have a little bit more fun with this than maybe what you have on some of the other drawings. So the next thing we're going to do is really kind of decorate this room. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit this bucket tool right here. And the shortcut for the bucket tool, the paint bucket tool that is the B key. So I hit B, and we get all these kind of pictures over here that are just kind of already there for us, right? And if you go up here and hit this one where it says Browse, okay, then I get all these options of different materials and paints that I can do. So the first one we're going to do is we're just going to paint some colors. And you guys can pick any color you want for your model. I encourage you to have fun, get creative. I'm going to try to make Mr. Berkmeyer happy here. So I'm going to pick some Birch Run themed colors. So we got that blue. We'll do this blue down here. And let's see, maybe we'll do this and this. All blue. And then we will get a nice gold if we can find it. And hit all these and make these gold. There we go. And then maybe get my ceiling nice and white. Okay, so if we were to see that, it's nice and white. Alright, so I got my floors kind of painted there. I might like a little bit more gold, so I'll go back and what I wanted to show you guys was a little technique. So I'm currently on the white, right? I'm going to undo that. If I can't remember what color I got exactly, right? I'm just on the bucket tool. If we go down here and look again what it says here, if I hit Alt, A-L-T, it changes from the bucket tool to the sample material. So I hit Alt, and now it looks like a little dropper tool. So if I click on this surface, it knows, okay, I wanted to sample that so that I can repeat it. And then I can add a little bit more yellow if I'd like to kind of get this nice, a little more balance. And so that was with just toggling between the Alt key, right? It took me from sample to bucket. And now what we want to do is paint our windows. So I'm going to do, I think I'm just going to do white for everything. So I can hit Alt again, sample the ceiling, because I did that as white. And here's a way to, there's a lot of little surfaces on here, right? To paint these a little bit faster, I can just hit Control, and it's going to hit everything, all right? So I'm just hitting Control, and I got all my windows painted white, which is good. But the glass shouldn't be white. That kind of looks goofy. So if we go over here, let's hit this little drop down here to take away our colors, and right below it we have this tab for glass and mirrors. If I open that up, now I get some cool options for some glass. Here's one with like a sky. This is kind of just a normal glass here, so I'm going to pick this sky one, and I'm going to hit the windows, and you can see what it does. It actually makes them transparent to see outside of our model. See how I can see this horizon line between it? Makes it look a little cloudy, kind of a cool little feature. And then you guys can have fun, do whatever you want in your model. There's also stuff for like if I want a wood floor, I can do light or medium. I'll do this one here. And now I've got this nice wood floor in my model to kind of make it look a little bit more realistic. I haven't really been doing it much in this video, but please make sure that you save often so you don't lose your work. Had a few students do that so far. So now I've got this room all drawn. And now what I want to do is I'm going to bring in some furniture, but before that, I want to make sure whatever I bring in does not interact too much with this, okay? So I'm going to hit the space bar, right? And I'm going to go, we'll go from right to left to make sure I get absolutely everything. Stop short of your person. All right, so everything's highlighted. Then I'm going to right click on this, and I want to lock all of this together. So I'm going to hit Make Group. So what I did is all these lines, now if I click anywhere, the whole entire model turns blue. So now that I know whatever I bring in here isn't going to kind of mess up what I have going here with this one. So we can get rid of this. And now what we're going to do is we're going to access the 3D warehouse. So if you click right here on these building blocks, okay, that's right up here. This popped up here. I'm going to get rid of materials and display so that you guys only see, if you click these 3 cubes, it takes me to this 3D warehouse. And here's kind of a fun little thing to play with. You can add some stuff to your room. So I'm just going to try adding a chair. I click chair, and you get all sorts, and you can scroll down and go, there's 5,109 of these. If you can see that down there. Move me out of the way. All sorts of options. These don't look very comfortable. Let's try recliner. There we go. There's kind of a trendy looking one. So if I click that, it automatically, now when I start moving my mouse, brings that chair into the room. So for now I'm going to put it kind of in the back of my room. And it's sitting right on there, which is what I wanted. You can see I brought it up now. We want it on the surface. So if you move around and just hover without clicking, you can see that it says on face in group. That's telling me it's on that surface. So I'm going to click there. And then with my move tool, all these other things pop up, these little red arrows. I'm going to orbit so I see the top of my chair. And then I'm going to click on one of these red arrows. And then it lets me spin this around. So maybe like, you know, get a nice little angle. Then I can go back and grab a corner and move it around again. And I think I might want 2 chairs in here, have them matching. So I'm going to put this up on here. And I'm going to spin this around. And you guys can pick any chair you want. See, that one's kind of below the surface, so I don't want that. I'm going to grab that up and move it around until it says on the face. And then I know it's actually sitting where I want it to be. Nice view here. Alright. And then maybe I add end table. Nothing I like there. I'm just going to kind of keep scrolling until I find one I want. You guys are picking whatever you want. You do not have to go with the models I'm doing. Put whatever you want in there. There's one. Let's do that one with a nice little plant on it. If it, oh, it's a large model. Let's see how it comes in. So it asked me if I wanted to bring this really large model in. And it's really not that big. It just has a ton of detail. So I chose to bring that in, no problem. I'm just placing it wherever I want. There we go. And then maybe lastly, let's get a TV. Let's see, maybe I should type flat screen. There we go. I was looking for one that didn't have a base because I want to, now that one was kind of, it came in a little bit goofy, so I just placed it anywhere for now, and then I'm going to go and make sure I grab the back corner of this so that I can put it on my wall. I think it's backwards. So how are we going to fix that? I'll show you a couple things. I could spin it and maneuver it, that'd be fine. But if I hit spacebar and get this select tool, and then I'm going to right click it. And if I scroll all the way down and just hover, I get this option to flip along things. And you can just play around with it. Flip along red. Well, that didn't do what I wanted. So I'm going to undo that. Right click it. And let's flip along green. There we go. Brought it back around. Maybe it's upside down now. So I go back in, I flip along blue. And you can see it spun it that way. So now I've got this TV on the wall. I'm pretty happy with that. There's my room. So what I want you guys to do then is kind of orbit your camera, get it good. We can get rid of this. And now we're going to turn it in. So save it first. And if this pops up, you can just hit yes, purge all. No problem. Mine's taking a minute because that one model was so big. Alright, then we go up to our stack. And we're going to hit download. And a lot of you guys turned in the wrong type of file. You turned in this SKP file. We want the PNG file. These are hard for me to see. I can't see these when you turn them in. These ones work great. So click on the ping. It takes you to this. I don't really like how that's centered. I'm going to hold shift to move this model around. Zoom out just a little. Orbit maybe a little bit more. Zoom in some. Right there looks good, like it's filling out my model pretty good. Maybe I don't need all of this though, so I'm going to shrink this down to 1600. 1400, there we go. And we're really just trying to fill the image up so that I use all my space here. There we go. Nice and centered. I can see all my colors. I can see my windows. You know, I'm not as worried about dimensions with this one. We'll do that on our next one. And so this is good. So I'm going to export this. And this is where it will send it. It automatically, for you guys, I think, sends it to your downloads file. I get to choose. I'm still going to put it in the downloads file where I have my last ones that we did previously. So SketchUp number 3, Grady, perfect. And then I need to move my picture and save it to the download. It's now in my downloads. You'd go back to Classroom and submit this image. All right, thanks guys.